Oh, okay. So, we have finally arrived at the part of this video that was intended to be the main video as the third part of this video. Oh my god. But you know what? You know what? That just goes to show just how complicated an arc like this would be. Like, if the Straw Hats did decide, for whatever reason, and it doesn't have to be to go rescue Sabo, but if Oda wants to go that direction at any point in the story, of the Straw Hats setting their sights on Marijois at the top of the red line, this series here, this mini documentary that I've been making for the last 2 weeks, goes to show how absolutely complicated that would be. You know, it would not be simple to reach the red port. It would not be simple to get to the top of the red line. And even once they get up there, it would not be simple for them just to break into Castle Pangea with little to no resistance. All right, there is no simple way to do it. This would literally be a mounted attack on the capital of the world. Okay, this would be difficult. You would have to deal with the cipher poles, all of the guards, the bulk of the Marines. It would just be insane. But with that all being said, if you haven't seen the first two parts of this series, go check them out in the card up here. Part 1 is where we handle the entry and infiltration into Marijois, and then part 2 is we handle the exact setup of how many people are going to go on the Straw Hat side, the Revolutionary Army side, some tactics that they could employ in order to manage to infiltrate Castle Pangea with the sole objective of rescuing Sabo, okay? So remember, like, the sole objective here is not to necessarily destroy the world government or defeat the Tenryubitto. At least it's not for Luffy and his crew. Luffy's objective here is to rescue Sabo. However, if Dragon is going to be here, if he's deciding to just go along with it, might as well kill two birds with one stone, right? It'd be like, all right, I was planning, I mean, clearly Dragon had some other plan involved with, like, declaring war on the Tenryubitto at Reverie, and then maybe, you know, doing some other kind of attack later to wipe the Tenryubitto out. But he's like, you know what? Things did not go as planned, but you know what? Make lemons out of lemonade, or make lemonade out of lemons, or whatever. Sabo's there, let's go rescue him, and while we're at it, let's just wipe out the Tenryubitto system and call it a day, you know? Why not, right? We're there, might as well do it, okay? So, we now get to the point of this video of the Straw Hats and the Revolutionaries facing off the most difficult opposition at Marijois. So this would, of course, be the Cipher Pole Zero. This would, of course, be the Gorosei, if they are capable of fighting, which I assume they might not be necessarily the absolute strongest warriors in the world. Not to say that, like, each individual member of the Gorosei is, like, on the level of the Admirals or on the level of a Yonko or something like that. But they're probably no slouches. Samurai Gandhi, in particular, he has a sword, which is probably the Shodai Katetsu. I highly doubt that he just doesn't know how to use it, or he just has the sword for no reason. Just like, yes, I just like, oh, sorry. I just like to look at the sword and polish it. I really have no idea on how to use it, right? Let's do a quick refresher, by the way, because we still, to this day, do not know the names of any of the Gorosei. We do know that they are Tenryubitto. They're like the highest revered level of Tenryubitto. They're not the kind of celestial dragons that just hang out in a gold-encrusted mansion all day. They actually were raised with a certain sense of, like, geopolitics and, like, you know, reasoning, and they're the ones that kind of make the big decisions in the world on their own. They're the ones that effectively run the world government on the day-to-day basis. Yeah, sure, Eam every once in a while will come down from his throne and be like, I want you to do this, or do a cleansing over here, or what have you. But the Gorosei are the ones that probably run the show for the vast majority of the time. So they manage to maintain the world in somewhat of a stable fashion. It's massively unfair to the common folk, and there's plenty of strife and slavery everywhere, but they have managed to keep it into that equilibrium for a while, okay? Also, I'm not subscribing to the theory that the Gorosei, at least the current Gorosei that we see in the story, are like immortals or something like that. Now, Eam, on the other hand, could be. If you tell me Eam is immortal or Eam is some kind of ghost from days long past, I could buy that sort of, because he's sort of like the phantom leader, the phantom king of the entire world that like never leaves the walls of Castle Pangea. I could buy that for just one person, but for all 5 members of the Gorosei to be like immortal zombies or whatever, vampires, you know, that have been around since the Void Century, I don't buy that. I think basically the system is, in every new generation of Tenryubitto, they take a select group of kids, and basically kind of like King Fuhrer Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist, they raise them to be the next generation of the Gorosei. And if some of them are just not up to it, like they just show that they're not capable of that kind of stuff, then they kick them out of the program. And then so the 5 Tenryubitto that succeed the best become the next generation. I think they're normal humans, probably superhumans, but they will eventually die. We see the like Samurai Gandhi seems to be like really, really old, and then there's another member who I dubbed Sanji's uncle, who I guess would be Judge's brother. Not really, that's just the name I gave to him. He seems to be like the youngest member. So it's possible that maybe sometime in the last 10, 20 years, one of the members of the Gorosei actually died, and then this dude, Sanji's uncle, took his place as the next one. I think it's that kind of system. Okay, so we have Sanji's uncle, we have Samurai Gandhi, we have Judge Dreadlocks, because of the hairstyle. We have Gonfal's brother, because he looks remarkably like Gonfal. In fact, I thought this was Gonfal for the longest time. When I first saw the image of this member of the Gorosei, I'm just like, why is Gonfal now a member of the world government? That doesn't make any sense. You know, it might be a thing with like Zangetsu Yuha Bach from Bleach. It turns out like Gonfal and this dude are actually related in some way. Whoa. And then we have Gorbachev, who used to be the former leader of the Soviet Union, and because of the birthmark on his head, like that is inspired by Gorbachev. So that's just the name I gave him, right? I don't know if it's Gorbachev or Gorbachev, but whatever. Let's just go with it. Okay. So I think that, honestly, the first major opposition the Straw Hats are going to face, and the revolutionaries that are traveling with them as well, are going to be the Cypher Pole 9 agents from Enies Lobby that have been promoted and learned some hockey, and now they're members of Cypher Pole 0. So we're not just talking about Lucci and Kaku, talking Jabra, Khalifa, Kumadori, Fukuro, Spondum, I guess. Although Spondum does have Funkfried, and it would actually be kind of interesting to see, you know, Spondum like, I have trained in the last 2 years. I'm not the weak, pathetic fool you thought of me last time. He's still way weaker than any of the Straw Hats, but it would be interesting to see that, like, maybe he has some handle on observation hockey. It would be funny if, like, Usopp takes out a shot to shoot Spondum, and Spondum manages to, like, dodge it by a hair, and he's like, haha, you fools, I've mastered observation in the last 2 years. And then Usopp just hits him again with another shot. And he's like, well, clearly you haven't mastered it, but you're on your way, buddy. Good job, right? And then, yeah, so then you also have Stussy, who's along with them as well. You also have, we don't know how many members of Cypher Pole 0 exist. We know the masked members are stronger than maybe even Lucci is. We know 3 of the masked members that we've seen so far are at Wano, and then we have one more member of the masked group that's like the flower mask guy, and we actually did see him at Reverie, okay? There might be more members that are masked, but we're not talking about the masked members right now. We're only talking about the former members of Cypher Pole 9. I think it'll be a pretty good way to showcase just how strong the Straw Hats have gotten, in a similar way to how they're just defeating the numbers at Wano right now. Like, they're just crushing Ors level enemies or Ors height enemies very easily now, okay? So that's the basic idea that I'm going with, okay? They're going to fight against these members of Cypher Pole 9 that they had such struggle against back then during that arc, and they've gotten stronger too. It's not like the numbers, you could say, are roughly the same amount of power that Ors had at Thriller Bark, but the CP9 agents have actively gotten stronger in the last 2 years, same as the Straw Hats, but the Straw Hats they're just still stronger, okay? So it'd be cool to see, like, and you could split this apart from the distraction team as well as maybe the stealth team. Maybe some of the members of Cypher Pole 9, now CP0, are staying in Castle Pangea. Maybe the stealth team will run into them. Maybe Nami will face Kumadori like she began to at Enies Lobby. Maybe she'll be able to finish him off right away this time. Maybe Frankie, as part of the distraction team, will see Fukuro, and the fight will be insanely quick compared to what it was at Enies Lobby. Just to kind of see the Cypher Pole 9 agents again, because that was a really interesting group, and I'd like to see them all together one more time, right? Not like killed by the Straw Hats or anything, but just defeated to the point where it's just like, okay, maybe we should find another line of work. Something like that I could see them doing. Sorry about that. I had to stop the video because I just noticed I had a cowlick. And why did nobody tell me I had a cowlick? I'm so nervous about my hair. My hair needs to be impeccable in every single video, and it's always has been, right? Okay. Well, no, back to it. So, for that reason, though, I also think Lucci and Kaku, their rematches to be more specific, are going to go the same way. They're not going to be the final battles. They're going to be like sub-bosses for the Straw Hats, like stepping stones, okay? So, like, Zoro will face off against Kaku. Kaku, I'm sure, has honed his Yontoryu style in the last 2 years, and he has haki now. Lucci has haki. He might have actually awakened his leopard fruit, and so we'll see scenes with Luffy and Zoro fighting these respective enemies that they did at Enies Lobby as their final opponents, but now maybe like one chapter each. We can have like one single fight just to see how they've grown. Once again, not killing Kaku and Lucci because they don't really do that, but like just to see how much stronger the Straw Hats have become. And it could even be a thing where Luffy defeats Lucci and he kind of says to Luffy as Luffy's walking off to go save Sabo, he's like, "Hey, Straw Hat, last time when I was a member of CP9, I was the strongest member, but that's not the case anymore. I'm a member of CP0. It'd be interesting if, I don't think Lucci would do this, but if he dropped his rank, that'd be cool. If he'd be like, out of all the members of Cypher Pool 0, I probably rank number 6 or 7 or something like that, in terms of absolute strength. The masked members are even stronger than myself. And Luffy and Zoro would just walk on, and Luffy would just be like, I don't care how much stronger they are, I'm going to save my brother. And he just charges off, and Lucci's like, yeah, of course you will. And then that's how it works. But it would be cool to see just the Cypher Pool 9 one more time, I think, okay? So at this point, let's say that there's Kong there. I said Kong would maybe be guarding, like, the front door of the castle. And this would actually be something where a big chunk of the distraction team would get held up. Like, maybe Luffy and Zoro would be able to squeak by. Kong is still just one person, and there were, like, a bunch of people on the distraction team. 6 members of the Straw Hats, the Monster Trio, Jinbei, Frankie, plus some heavy hitters like Ivankov and Inazuma from the Revolutionary Army. A lot of them, though, might be held back at this point if Kong is the one that's going to actually be, like, at the front door of Pangaea Castle to be, like, have his Gonfall moment of, like, you shall not pass. Not Gonfall. Gandalf. There we go. The Gandalf Gonfall moment, which they actually kind of look similar as well, interestingly enough. Okay, so it might be some situation like that where, let's say, Jinbei, Frankie, Ivankov, Inazuma, plus all the other members of the Revolutionary Army that came around, maybe the slaves that were freed, all have to go up against Kong, and Kong is like, you shall not gain entrance into this castle. Then again, Luffy can fly kind of with Gear 4th. Zoro's been using his Conqueror's Haki to propel himself around the sky in his battle with King, so and Sanji can fly as well, so it might actually be a situation where they all individually, like, they jump on top of, like, Castle Pangaea, or maybe not to the very top, because it's a very, very big castle. It's basically the size of a damn mountain. It's huge. But they can get into the building that way, and inside of the building is where they encounter the masked members of Cypher Pool 0, whereas Kong holds off the main forces from the front door, which he probably could. I mean, I don't know if he has a devil fruit or what, but even if he doesn't, like I said, that dude is hard as a coffin nail, okay? Like, he's going to be pretty damn powerful. He used to be a fleet admiral, probably older than Sengoku. Sengoku is almost 80. He's like 79 years old. Kong might be in his mid-80s, but you check out those arms. Have you seen those arms, right? I wanted to see Frankie, clashing with Kong and having, like, a big arm wrestling match, okay? It would be insane, right? So, let's say, though, the Monster Trio do manage to get into Castle Pangaea. At the same time, down below, we have Dragon, we have the stealth rescue team breaking in, and we could have a thing where, like, the slaves and Sabo and Vivi, if, Vivi is trapped down there as well, are freed. Actually, I was thinking of another angle you could take this, and it's, what if they get down into the dungeons, and Sabo is there, and they free Sabo, but Vivi is not there, and Sabo's like, oh, well, she was kept down here for a while, but just a few hours ago, before you guys showed up, Vivi was, escorted away by the guards. Somebody needed, she needed to go somewhere, to some room. And so what if, because we saw that scene with Eam in the flower room looking at an image of Vivi, what he did is Eam sliced up the images of Blackbeard and Luffy, then stabbed a knife through Shirahoshi's, but then was, like, staring at a picture of Vivi. Almost as if, some interest there. I don't know if it's like a romantic interest or if there's something else going on here. I always looked at it like the Nefeltari family was that one family that decided to leave Marijwa. So technically speaking, if Cobra's family, if the Nefeltari family would have stayed in Marijwa, Vivi, if she would have been born, would have been a celestial dragon, okay? Because she is a descendant of one of the founding families of the world government. They just chose to stay in their homeland instead of Marijwa. So it's really just a difference of location on where they decided to live is what deems them not celestial dragons. So I don't know if Eam is like interested in Vivi for that reason, like, oh, she's the one that doesn't want to be part of our family, so she must never leave now, you know, like something like that. And Vivi is like Eam requests her audience, and so guards take her up to like Eam's room, and so Eam then begins to explain to Vivi like who they are and like what it really all is about. Like, I am the true ruler of the world. It's so nice to meet you, Vivi Nefeltari, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? So there's another angle with that. But let's say, yeah, so you got the monster trio inside of the castle, you got Dragon inside of the castle, you got revolutionaries like Bello Betty, maybe Karasu inside the castle, and you could have different fights with like the masked members of Cypherpole at this point and how tough they are, get some cool battles with Revolutionary Army commanders. We can maybe see how Dragon fights. That would actually be a good way to showcase Dragon's overall strength, okay? So we have these masked members of CP0 that are able to take out numbers on their own. Drake was defeated by these guys at Wano. These guys are nothing to laugh at, okay? They're pretty damn powerful, okay? I mean, maybe they're masks or something to laugh at, but, you know, other than that, right? So it would be very interesting if one of them approaches Dragon, like, oh, you are Dragon, you are the most wanted man in the world, I'm gonna bring you in, and like, in just a speed blitzing second, Dragon uses maybe his version of the Dragon Claw, maybe he's the one that invented it, grabs the masked member of CP0, crushes the mask, crushes their head, like blood goes everywhere, slams them against a wall, and he's just like, I don't have time for you piss ants, and he moves on, right? Like, it would be something like that, like if Dragon could just one-shot one of the masked members of Cypherpole Zero. Meanwhile, like Karasu, Bello Betty, maybe, you know, Sanji, Zoro, Luffy, they're having a little bit of trouble against them, okay? But Dragon's able to just, boom, one-shot him down. You know, that's how powerful Dragon is, and that's why he's not just the president, not the president of the Revolutionary Army, I guess that's a title, but also just he is the most wanted man in the world, right? So, we have the Cypherpole. I wish we knew more of them, like their names. We have Stussy as well, but Stussy does not wear a mask, so she might just fight them, you know, the same time as like the CP9 agents would fight them. But other than that, we really just have the Gorosei and Eam. And we don't even know if Eam can fight. I mean, it's possible Eam could be really strong. Eam might have, like, the strongest Conqueror's Haki in the world because he's literally the king of the world. He might have that strongest Conqueror's Haki where he might even be able to knock out people of, like, Sanji and Zoro's caliber or something like that. Or he might have the strongest Devil Fruit in the world because he's the king of the world. He might have access to that. You just never know. But let's talk about the Gorosei right now, okay? So the only ones that we have, like, a decent idea on how they would fight, actually the only one that we would have a decent idea on how they would fight would be Samurai Gandhi, because he has the sword, and so okay, we can assume he's a swordsman, and you know, maybe not like on Mihawk's level or anything, but he has the Shodai Kitetsu, he knows how to swing a blade. In fact, some of the stuff we found out about cursed swords from the last arc, you know, Kozaburo Shimosuke talking about how there's really no such thing as a cursed sword, it's just that the person wielding that sword, for instance, might very well be too terrified of the sword itself, and so that's why they deem it as a cursed blade, something like that, right? By the way, if you can hear like random construction sounds in the background, that's because random construction noises are happening in my house right now. I'm getting carpeting installed upstairs. Anyway, just so I'm doing a video down here for the day. Anyway, so he probably fights with a sword, and he's probably a pretty decent swordsman, so obviously that would mean he would have to go up against Zoro. I mean, if that ever actually happened, if the Gorosei ever actually had to fight for themselves, sure, throw Samurai Gandhi against Zoro, and I guess throw Sanji's uncle against Sanji. Maybe that would be interesting. I'm sure there's really no relation, but it would be interesting to have like Sanji's uncle come out and be like, so you're Judge's son, and be like, yeah, don't talk about that guy. He's like, well, I'm Judge's older brother, and it's like, ah, shit, you know, and it's like, it's the Vince Smokes all over again. Although that would be pretty funny if that member of the Gorosei was related to Judge in some way. Like, that would be so weird, because every arc, Sanji, ever since against Tauntland, Sanji has to deal with the Vinsmoke name again and again. He had to deal with it at Tauntland, and he hated it. Then he had to deal with it at Queen at Wano, and he hated it. And just like, can we be done with this crap already? And then finally it's like, I'm actually a member of the Vinsmokes, but I'm Judge's older brother. Like, son of a... Why? And so you have Sanji fighting against that guy. But as for the 3 remaining members, Judge Dreadlocks, Gonfal's brother, and Gorbachev, I would have no idea how they would fight. The way that Artor handled this in the Return to Reverie series, when Professor Gemini, when they did their fan series with that, it's like one was like an expert with hockey. One had like the strongest, like a Megalosaurus ancient zone. Another one was like the perfect, like the master of all martial arts or something like that. That would be a cool way to take it. It's just that I have no basis for this. By the way, I don't really think the Gorosei have like a leader per se, but I always viewed the Gonfal's brother guy looking as sort of like the leader of the Gorosei. I don't know if any of you also had that kind of opinion. I think he might be one of the ones that talks the most, but we know so little about the Gorosei, but I always assumed like he was sort of their pseudo leader if they did have a leader, right? Okay. Anyway, that's the Gorosei, and the Straw Hats facing off against them, I mean, they essentially do have to fall, because if Dragon's goal is to keep the structure of the world government around, but abolish the Tenryubitto system, you gotta get rid of the Tenryubitto, and that includes the Gorosei, and they're the Gorosei that make all the decisions, so you definitely gotta get rid of them. Like, the Gorosei have to die. Like, there's really no way around it. I guess you could keep them around and lock them in cells or whatever, but I think Dragon's just gonna straight up try to kill them, right? By the way, at this point, I want to bring this up, okay? A while back, about a year ago, I do not scrap a lot of videos. When I come up with an idea for a video, I usually just go ahead with it. It might not be the best video ever, but that's the way I usually go about it. There was a concept I had for a video about a year ago where I was actually going to delve into the kind of revolution that Dragon was actually trying to do. Like, what revolution was he going to attempt? And as research for that video, I went in to go research various revolutions all across history. And by the end of it, I was just so like distraught and just seeing all the fucking horrible things that have happened. Now, of course, some of these revolutions were for the good, where they were like oppressive dictators and the people rose up and, you know, defeated that dictator, and now situations are better. But after just days and days of reading about revolutions and blood and death and misery, I was just like, I don't even want to go there. You know, I don't even want to make a video talking about this anymore, right? And then I got into the whole discussion of like, okay, Dragon wants to eliminate the Tenryubitto. What about the Tenryubitto that are like children, you know, that have nothing to do with like what their parents are doing? Like, is it like every child and the Tenryubitto every Tenryubitto is wiped out? Doesn't matter, no exceptions. Like, I didn't even want to go with those details, and I'm kind of doing it now, but I'm not making a whole video about it. But you can understand, if you ever had the question, like, was there ever a video that you were working on and then you decided to stop halfway for any reason? Yeah, that one right there, because you can ask yourself some pretty dark questions, all right? So I don't know how Oda's going to handle it. That's the other thing. Like, Oda handling this the way that I was doing it, it was just like looking into like research on various different like revolutions, and there were revolutions that were bloodless as well, but I have a feeling that's not going to be Dragon's. I don't feel like that's going to be the way it's going to end. But at any rate, I feel like the Gorosei have to die here, right? I'm just feeling that, okay? Whether that be like the Straw Hats beat them down and then Dragon's the one that deals the finishing blow in the Revolutionary, so the Straw Hats don't have to do it, whatever, what have you. Actually, you know what the best way, this is also kind of dark, but it would be, you know, justice. It would be a moment where maybe the Straw Hats defeat the Gorosei. The Revolutionaries and the Straw Hats defeat the Gorosei, but then they don't kill them, and then they just leave the room, and then the slaves walk in, and the slaves just see the 5 Gorosei defeated. As like, these are essentially the 5 people that have, you know, organized slavery all over the world. And they're the heads of this organization. They stand at the top of the Tenryubitto ladder. And so there might actually just be a scene where like the slaves walk into the room, Gorosei are defeated, and then Oda just cuts away. And just doesn't even go about what happens after that, right? Now we get to Eam, though. Eam is the most interesting, okay? I'm actually not going to assume Eam is like some great fighter, like he's like some Yonko, Mihawk, Rayleigh dude. Like, I don't think he's that. I think he is just some kind of ghost from the past that might have some sort of ability to maybe sway the minds and hearts of others, and so maybe that's how he got the Gorosei to do his bidding. maybe it's not straight up brainwashing, but like if you know, just basically like he has a very oppressive will. Okay, and that's maybe that is his conqueror's hockey ability. Like he has that greatest power. So it's like it's not like, you know, you will do whatever I say. I will do whatever you say, Im-sama. It's nothing like that, but it's just like unless you listen to him and you don't obey him, you can get crushed by his like will. Kind of similar to the way that like remember in Bleach when the Espada were gathering and then Aizen was at the table drinking his tea. He didn't drink iced tea and he didn't drink it from a straw, but Aizen was drinking his tea. And then you had the moment where Grimjow got up and was like, I'm going to go, you know, kill all the intruders. And Aizen's like, did I tell you to kill them? And he's like, no, but I'm going to go do it. And he's like, Grimjow, sit down. And then all of a sudden there was just boom, like this oppressive feeling that like his Ryatsu, Grimjow simply could not move. Something maybe like that with Eam, where it's just like if you don't listen to him, you might, you know, your brain might just get crushed or something like that, and you become like a zombie or like a vegetable or something before his will. But I don't think he's like, you know, like a swordsman on the level of like Rayleigh, Mihawk, Zoro or anything like that, or he has some like crazy powerful devil fruit, okay, if anything. But I would love to see an interaction between Eam and Vivi. I would also love to see an interaction between Eam and Robin. I would even honestly like to see a scene where maybe Cypher Pull Zero maybe captures Robin during this raid on Marijois, and they don't kill her, they bring her to Eam. Because Eam is probably very interested in Robin. I mean, we all kind of are, but like, it's just like, so, you are Nico Robin, the Devil Child, the last surviving member of Ohara. I've wanted to talk to you for about 20 years now. And then Robin is like, who are you? I'm like, I am Eam. I am the ruler of this world. And then Robin is like, what? And then they launch into a conversation about what the Void Century is, what the Poneglyphs are, what the Will of D means, what the Clan of D and Joy Boy and the Promise and the One Piece. Like, now maybe all this can happen off camera so we don't learn about it, but like Robin hears about it like, oh my god, this is insane, right? And it might be a thing where he might do some Emperor type shit where Eam is like, join me, Vivi. Join me, Nico Robin. And together we can rule this world together. And at the end of the day, of course, Vivi and Robin would be like, no, we're going to go and you know, we're members of the Straw Hats, basically. Because Vivi is. She just left. And it would be a thing where, like, Eam is like, oh, you doubt my will. And then, boom, like, oppressive Conqueror's hockey hits them. And then maybe have a scene with, like, Luffy showing up and his Conquerors is on the level where it can contend with Eam's Conquerors. And then Luffy's like, oh, okay, let's fight. I mean, I would love to see Luffy punching out Eam, because even more so than the Gorosei, Eam really does, at least in my opinion, embody what the world government is, like at its core. He is the boss, okay? Eam is, I like to think, some immortal being from the past that needs to be vanquished in order for the world to move forward. As long as Eam is still alive, if that's even the right word to describe him, you know, the world government will continue, the Tenryubitto slavery, that will all kind of begin anew as long as Eam's around. And so seeing a scene where like Luffy or Sabo could team up and fight him, or Luffy and Dragon or whoever shows up, like somebody's got to punch out Eam, okay? You got to get rid of Eam, you got to get rid of the Gorosei, got to get probably rid of the majority of the Tenryubitto. Some of the Tenryubitto are probably not bad, like Mjolsgard changed, and Homing wasn't bad, and Homing's wife, so they weren't all horrible. I guess the best way you could do it is like take the Tenryubitto that are so far gone where they'll never change their ways, kind of like Doflamingo, and Dragon will figure out something to do with that, whatever that means, you know, like, yeah, or whatever, I don't know. But then the other Tenryubitto, like especially like the children and the people that like don't know, is like, I don't know what's going on here, be like, okay, you guys go over here, you're fine, just, you know, you're gonna be living as normal humans from now on. But then again, all of the people of the world hate the Tenryubitto. See what happened when Homing and his family tried to live amongst the people. So it's a complicated issue that we're not going to get into here. But that's basically where I'm going to end this, with Luffy just punching out Eam, rescuing Sabo, and then demolishing Pangaea Castle, and then calling it a day. No. Now, the only thing here is maybe if you're wondering, is that really how it would go with the Tenryubitto system being wiped out and Dragon's Revolution succeeding before the Straw Hats even find the One Piece? Perhaps, because let me tell you, how would you think this would go otherwise? Do you think, like, the Straw Hats would reach Laugh Tale, find the One Piece, and the story is not over right there, but like effectively Luffy's journey, at least the journey of the story of One Piece, is over. So would we have another arc after Laugh Tale that focuses entirely on Dragon's Revolution? That would just seem kind of weird at that point to me, to like, okay, Luffy gets to Laugh Tale, they find the One Piece, now we have this next arc all about the Revolution. I feel like that revolution thing should probably be resolved before the Straw Hats find the One Piece. Like, finding the One Piece in this big epic final battle should be, like, the last part of the story. Then maybe there could be an epilogue after, but I don't think the epilogue would be very long. Honestly, I think the epilogue would just focus on the individual Straw Hats in the future, like what became of them, right? So with that being said, I feel like Dragon's Revolution, yeah, should probably succeed, you know, before the Straw Hats reach Laugh Tale. And even if the revolution does succeed, that would throw the whole world into turmoil. Like that, like what would the Marines do, for instance? Like the Marines would have their different opinions on this. I'm sure some of the Marines would view the revolutionaries as saviors. Some Marines would be like, no, that you ruined the status quo. You ruined everything, you know? So I would actually like to see the world kind of dealing with that level of turmoil of the world government system as they know it collapsing. Not the structure of it, but the Tenryubitto system collapsing. People all over the world would rejoice. Like, I want to see the reaction to that. I don't want it to just be like, Straw Hats find the One Piece. Oh, while they found the One Piece, Dragon's Revolution went off without a hitch, and the world is rejoicing. Okay, end of story. I don't want that to happen. So anyway, that's my opinion on the matter. This has been a monster of a 3-part series. Thank you for sticking it with me this entire time, though. Thanks, Barry. You're always there to lend a helpful... I guess you don't have ears, but you know what I mean, all right? Anyway, thanks for watching the video, everybody. And, yeah, we'll get back to regularly scheduled comments soon. New year, I have some new ideas for the channel, so we'll see where it goes. Thanks for watching. Signing out.